can set it up. That's high def.
We are live. Welcome to Healthy Wealthy Family Lives. We do these on Tuesday nights at 7:30 Eastern Time. Zach and I have been talking nutrition the past few weeks. This week, we're bringing meal prepping into the fold. Zach is a very big meal prepper. Brittany, am not so much. Brittany likes to vary the meals day by day and change them up sometimes on a given day. But I know that, Zach, you do it a lot, and I know that there's a lot of benefits to why you do it. But before we do that, man, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there.
Tuesday, we're moving. I was off yesterday at work, so it really feels like Monday, but it's Tuesday. Anytime I can shorten the week, at least at work, W-2.
Yeah, we're in pretty full-on baby mode at this point, like getting ready for that. My mom comes in on Saturday, and so it's like I built a bed yesterday because we got rid of our old bed to make room in this other room, and so we went from a queen to a twin that's going to have a trundle bed. So it'll slide underneath it and then pop out to make that room a little bit more of a day space. That's like, I feel like I'm not working. I think that's gonna be how the next 4 to 20 weeks are. So
at a minimum.
Yeah, at a minimum. But tell everybody kind of what is meal prepping, I guess.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, but like the process maybe not so much. So I mean, in my eyes, meal prepping is all right, ahead of time, what am I going to eat next week? And then I go through a process. It's the same thing, right? Like in real estate or business, it's like process. Like, how can I be consistent? What makes me be the most consistent? And it's having a very clear process when I'm doing it, what I'm doing it. But ultimately, it's bulk preparing your meals, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you decide you want or whatever variety you want, cooking them all in one shot in bulk batches, typically, in my eyes. That's how I do it. But then not only just cooking it, but packaging it for the week, right? And maybe that's just 3 days at a time, depending on how much you want to reheat and how comfortable you feel food sitting in the fridge and having to reheat it consistently. But essentially, just picking your meals, cooking them in big batches, and then putting them in separate containers, and one for each day, one for each meal. And that way you don't have to think about what you're eating or when you're eating it because it's all ready to go. So you're less likely to get done a 11 o'clock meeting and it's noon. It's like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to eat. And then, oh, what's easiest? I'm just going to, heat up some frozen food. I'm going to order out or run out to grab lunch, right? You already have it ready to go. All you have to do is heat it up, depending on what it is. Maybe you don't even need to reheat it, but it's all ready to go for you to not have to think about it, not have to spend extra time. And you can portion out what you want, whether it's protein, carbs, fats, and all of that ahead of time again. So you're not trying to figure it out on the fly. That's the biggest problem, is like, just, hey, I'll figure it out. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm sure I'll figure it out, and not letting yourself kind of be not strict with what you're eating when you should be, because you're kind of making the easy choice.
Yeah, there's a, what is it, like, don't go to the grocery store hungry because you end up buying a bunch of junky food. Like, kind of sounds like the similar thing. Don't try to figure out what you need to eat when it's time to eat because you're hungry and you're like, oh, I'll just take, like you said, just what's easy. I'll just go get McDonald's or whatever because it's quick, it's easy, it's cheap. If you've done it ahead of time, then it's already taken care of. And if you're curious about portions and stuff like that, check the video out that we did last week where Zach was breaking down, how to, what was it? I forget what you called it. Plate
method or hand portions, but plate method.
The plate method. Yeah. It sounds like, I have a couple questions here. So are you picking all like one meat, for example, and just cooking a bunch of chicken, and then you're making 3 or 4 different meals based off chicken? Or is it like, no, I want chicken and I want pork and I want a steak?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I can tell you how I do it. Doesn't mean that you have to do it this way, but the way that we do it is, so me and my wife cook 3 meals for the entire week. And those are typically lunches and dinners, mainly for her. Like for me, I can eat whatever, whenever the day. Like it doesn't need to be eggs or cereal or whatever for breakfast. Like it can be like, chicken parm stuffed shells or just chicken parm for breakfast for me. I don't really care. But really, we have 3 meals for our breakfast or for lunches and dinners. And what we typically try to do is we can get bigger packages of chicken breast and we can get bigger packages of like ground turkey or ground beef. But we usually do 2 meals with the same protein and then 1 meal with a different protein. It's always focused around the protein. That's the base of all of our meals. That's typically the one thing that people are shorting themselves on is protein and not eating enough of that. So we focus everything on that. And really our lists consist of the same items. The preparation methods and the spices or sauces are really the only differences on a week-to-week basis. So, we can get a big pack of chicken breasts for, there's 6 of them in there. 3 chicken breasts for 1 meal, 3 chicken breasts for the other meal. That's what we found for the 2 of us works. Now, if you have a family of 4, right, maybe we double that, you get 2 packs, but the same concept still applies. Or maybe you're making an additional meal. But for us, it was like 3 chicken breasts per meal for that week. And so we try to break it up that way because it makes it a little bit easier rather than having like 3 or 4 different proteins. There's just so many different ways to prep it. So 2 of one of the other is typically how we break it up.
Okay. Yeah, because it seems like a big benefit of this, and I'm just inferring here, you tell me you're the one doing it, that it's taking all that cooking time and just consolidating it into one little spot. And so now instead of having 30 to 60 minutes every single day, you just do like a 2-hour bulk meal or cook and contain, and now it's all done for the week. You said 3 meals, lunches and dinners. So let's just say, are you doing this on Sunday?
Typically, yeah.
Okay, so then what happens on Thursday?
Yeah, great question. So the way we do it is we don't want to do everything all in one shot, right? If I wait until Sunday morning, maybe I get lazy, maybe I sleep in a little bit, whatever happens, and now I still have to pick our meals, get the grocery list together, go grocery shopping, do all of it. So doing everything in one shot can be overwhelming. So we try to break it into, again, this is our process. So we break it into Thursday night, we go, what do we want to eat next week? And depending on what we have going on the weekend, maybe we pick the easier, quicker meals, or we don't really have anything going on, so we know we can do something that takes a little bit longer, maybe it's a little more prep time. But Thursday, we have a Pinterest board that we built over the years of recipes we've tried and worked, were easy and all that stuff. So we'll just go through and like, hey, what are you feeling? And sometimes we don't even need to look at it. Sometimes it's like, oh, let's do, the turkey meatballs and we'll get a spaghetti squash and like that's just what we're feeling or whatever. But we'll just scroll through and we'll pick the 3 meals that we want. And pick the meals, we'll put the list together, and then Friday we usually go and we get pickup. Really, we go our giant around us. You can go online and just like review your past purchases and hit like add cart, and then it's just curbside pickup. So you just pull up, and within 5 minutes they're out. They toss it in your cart and you're good to go. So like we used to go and walk around in the store and grab stuff, right, which leaves tendencies to like grab extra things you don't really need or want. You talked about going to the grocery store hungry, like that's also another problem. So cut out that, so saved us 30, 45 minutes and all the extra stuff we might buy. So we pick that up on Friday. And then Sunday we'll prep, we'll do it all. So like we save ourselves an hour in the front end, where now it's like Sunday morning, I get up, everything's already there. I know what recipes we're doing. I can just get up and start cooking. And that's the 2 hours that it takes to cook all that stuff. So that's kind of how our process works. You could break it into another step, either Friday or Saturday, where you're prepping for it. Like a lot of times we need to cut the chicken up into, dice it up, or peppers and onions and slice. You can cut all that stuff up, put it in containers. That way you literally don't need to do anything other than like throw it all together, throw it in the right stages. So you can break that step up a little bit more, just to save yourself a little bit of time if you have it.
Yeah, I like that. We will do that sometimes when we cook every night. I use the word "we" loosely. I used to be the sole chef, and now I'm on the back burner which it's something that I miss. I like actually cooking, but I lost my train of thought there. Oh no, yeah. Well, sometimes we'll like 8 o'clock in the morning, we'll dice stuff up for like that because we know the day is going to be busy towards the end of the day, and if we pre-dice this stuff, we could just throw it in the pan and it'll take 20 minutes to cook. So I'm confused though, because if you're cooking Sunday and you only have 3 meals, What the heck are you eating on Thursday?
So it's not a meal per day. The meals last us typically all week. So they're large enough portions
Okay.
that, yeah. And as long as they're not overeating, right? Which another thing too is like, hey, we have these 3 meals. Like, let's not overpack our dishes. Like, you'll easily see when we run out. But yeah, so they're big enough that they do last us at least through Friday.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's 3 meals that you're eating twice, essentially.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It'll be like one meal will be like for one of us all of our dinner, and the other meal will be one of us all of our lunches, vice versa. And then that third meal you can kind of mix in, whether it's for breakfast or to kind of just mix things up throughout the week.
Yeah, we've talked about a little bit the benefits of this. Definitely from a time constraint. Or what other benefits as a as a person that has a W-2, as an entrepreneur, real estate investor, also focusing a lot on your exercise and things like that. What are the benefits of meal prepping for you and potentially other people out there?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, like you mentioned, saving time, right? I don't have to cook a meal and, do it 30, 60 minutes each and every night. And then I also need to do lunches, right? Maybe you do leftovers from dinner as your lunch for the next day. That works. That's how my dad always did it, right? I'd come home from the gym and he'd have dinner cooking and all that stuff. I don't want to do that during the week. And so I'm fine reheating it. So time is definitely one of the biggest ones. The other thing is being able to portion everything out, right? We talked about the plate method. So now I can purposefully take the time to go and make sure I have my veggies ready to go and my protein and all of that portioned out correctly. And then it's just consistent, right? And if you're weighing and measuring too, if you're really being precise, maybe you have the prep habit down, you want to dial things in a little bit more, you're weighing and measuring, you can weigh it all out in one shot, right? It's like I have 5 meals that I need to do, 5 dinners I need to put together. They're all going to be the same thing. I can just all right, I need 100 grams of my veggies, toss it in. 100 grams, 100 grams, 100 grams. You can do all of the veggies and then all the proteins and then all the carbs. Like, you can break it up a lot easier. So just being able to dial it in a little bit more and be more aware of how much you're eating of each thing, because it's super easy to just fill up the entire plate, eat it all, and then fill up another little bit of plate because you're still hungry, right? So it's like, all right, I'm going to get this meal together, and now I have this portion. This is all I'm going to eat, and that. That's probably, outside of time, the next biggest thing is just being more mindful of how much you're eating, and by prepping it out ahead of time, you don't have to go back for seconds usually.
I like I've never done it, but as you were talking about the weighing the food out from a KPI and tracking things standpoint, seems like if you weigh things out and you're very, as precise as you can be given time constraints for a week or two, and you're like, oh, these are not the results that I'm getting, it's easy to go, well, okay, let's add more veggies and take away this. And so from that standpoint, I think that the weighing could be very beneficial to people. It seems like the weighing is something that you do a little bit down the line, though, once you've kind of built the habits out of eating the right stuff first and prepping. But as you're talking through this, I think of the mental burden of figuring out food every week. It's something that every time Brittany sits down to make the grocery list, I'm like, oh, just pick the 4 things, just have 4 or 5 things and just eat those every single week. This is what we eat Monday. This is what we eat Tuesday. It would remove the mental burden of that. I have to make so many decisions in a given day that it's like, to think about what I have to eat that night or what I have to make sometimes is just overloading. So having it prepared ahead of time, you just have to think about it the one day and then cook it and have it all set. I feel like that would be a big weight off of my shoulders, right? That's why Steve Jobs only wore freaking black shirts all the time. He didn't have to think about it. He just did it, So we talked about, some of the benefits, kind of the practical application. How do you, what it seems like just kind of following your plan is a good way. How would you recommend people get started?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, just like a lot of different things that is maybe something new, is to not overthink it and not make it super overcomplicated, right? It doesn't have to be the perfect recipe. If you're currently eating out 3 nights a week because it's just convenient, it's easy, it's quick, and you think meal prepping is something that can help you, picking any meal is going to be better that you prepare for yourself. You know what you're putting into it, right? It takes a little bit more time, but it's still going to be better than likely what you're eating out, right? I mean, our meals aren't perfectly healthy. I mean, we like talk about, we made chicken parm stuffed shells, right? Pasta, right? Super carbo loaded. Not that it's bad for you, but it's very easy to overeat it, right? There's butter in it. There's, you know, ricotta cheese. So it's super fatty stuff, but it's got chicken in it too. And we make it so we know it's like, it's going to be better than if I were to go out to Burger King or McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or any of that, right? So
Yeah.
I think just picking something that looks good and sounds good and starting very simple. Our Pinterest board, like we were just in Vegas this past weekend and we got back on Sunday night. So we didn't have the typical like Thursday night, let's pick our meals, let's get our grocery list together. But we have those staples, those go-to recipes that we know are easy. We know how to do them. So it takes a couple of times to figure out what those are. And I can certainly share my Pinterest board with anybody that wants it. Like I have a copied one that it's just, hey, these are the meals that we found. But I think it's keep it simple. Just pick something that looks easy to do and just give it a try, right? I mean, cooking it's not always the easiest, but if you pick something that is as simple as it can be, that's the biggest thing. So like just give it a shot. Sometimes recipes fall flat on your face and that's okay, right? Just like anything new, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a little bit slower, right? Maybe for me, it takes 2 hours. Somebody else, it might take 4 or 5 minutes. Like this sucks. This isn't that quick. Like it's like, just like real estate, right? Like, oh, it takes you a week or 2 weeks to get a deal and get that moving, right? But you've been doing it for a while. Somebody new, it's like, this has been 6 months. What the heck's taking so long? Like, so keep it simple. Don't overthink it, right? Give it time, be consistent with it, and then just plan. Like, just set aside the time to go through that process. What meals are we doing? What's the list? When are we going shopping? When are we prepping it, right? If you block those times out in your calendar, you're going to have a better chance of being successful.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned the time thing there. That right, something that Zach does in 2 hours, it might take me 4 or 5 the first handful of times that I do them because I'm not used to doing it. Right, Zach just goes. I'm still having to look at the list of okay, what's the next thing I should chop or the next thing that goes in right into the pan or whatever. And then like sometimes meals fall flat. That's why we have ketchup.
Yep, dude, seriously. Like I could put a list together of stuff right now and not have a recipe in mind. We get the same things. It's ground turkey, it's chicken, it's peppers, it's onions. It's just different spices in it, different ways of preparation, right? And when we're thinking through meals, we're trying to cook multiple at a time, right? And this is the little step above, just doing meal prep, right? And start with one meal. Don't try to do 3 right off the bat. Do one simple meal for the week, right? Slow incremental ways to start being consistent and build that habit. But like the different prep methods, we do one oven prep, we do one pan prep, and we do one like crock pot or Instapot one, right? We'll get one going. All right, toss that's in the oven, that's cooking, that's going to be in there for 25 minutes. I got the next one going, that's going on the pan, that's cooking, and then I got the last one going in the Instapot, right? So now it's been a half an hour and all 3 are cooking, right? As I finish prepping the one and get that moving, that first one is done. All right, cool. Now I'm pulling that out, I'm chopping it up, I'm divvying it up, move on. Like that's how you get efficient at it, is just doing it over and over and over again. So pick one meal and just practice on that. Don't try to jump right into doing all of it at one time.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe you don't eat it 6 days in a row, right? Maybe I don't mind it. And Zach and I have talked about this kind of ad nauseum a little bit. That I used to just I'd just go buy a big pack of salmon and just cook it, and I'd eat it for 3 or 4 days. Just that was it. I'd eat. Like kind of like you, it doesn't matter. I don't need eggs for breakfast. I just eat salmon.
Yeah, I'm hungry. I just need food. And like, life hack is rotisserie chicken and white rice. Like that's what I did for the longest time, right? Yeah. Get a veggie in there, throw some green beans, steamed bagged green beans. You just pierce it with a fork and throw it in the microwave. I'm sure Brittany's losing her mind because we're microwaving plastic. But like you know what I mean? Like it can be as simple as that. Like $5, $6, $7 rotisserie chicken will get you meals for 3 days. I mix that with some rice and veggies. Like it is delicious, right? And like I said, it's a little fatty, right? The rotisserie chicken, but it's gonna be better than 80%, 90% of the other stuff that you might eat if you eat out.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of the reasoning behind people eating fast food, it's fast, but it's cheap. Mm-hmm. And you can go get like you said, it's not the best chicken for you, but It's better than going and eating a McDonald's hamburger that if you left out on the counter a year from now it would look exactly the same. Right? If you leave that chicken out there, it's not going to be good in a couple of days. But for $5, you could easily feed a family of 4 on just the chicken. Right? Unless you're 16-year-old Nathaniel's, then the whole chicken would be. You need 2 chickens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you need your meal prep chicken that you're eating while you're breaking it apart, and then you need your actual chicken for the meals later. I used to buy 2 because I would buy it hungry, and I'd get home and I'd just end up eating 3/4 of the one, and then it'd be like, shit, I don't have anything to eat now.
That's funny. What on the price topic, is there kind of an average that it costs you for the week?
Yes, I mean, with prices going up over the last 3 years, but I mean, in general, I mean, we don't spend, the 2 of us don't spend more than $150 a week. I mean, we're probably $400 to $600 a month. If you don't have any spices or any, like, we have a reservoir of stuff, like we bulk buy all of our spices, like, and they can get pretty expensive, like you're $10-15 for like a big thing of spices. So when you have 10 of those different ones, it gets expensive at the beginning. So again, that's slowly just buying like 1 or 2 ingredients that'll last you a few weeks to a month will get you there. But I mean, we're $100 to $150, a month with our meals. So that, like you mentioned, I think expense is something that concerns people, but I mean, if me and my wife go out on a date night where we go out to eat, a drink or 2, and then, dinner and a dessert, like you're at $100 for one meal pretty easily. And we can do a whole week on that.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're eating out a few times a night, right, that adds up real fast. Yes, it's more convenient, but, we're here for the longevity of this. And yeah, we still eat out, right? But knowing what you're putting in your body, knowing the ingredients that went into your meal, it makes a difference. We had a freaking donut this morning, and I felt like crap all day. Mm-hmm. Like I don't. Does it make sense to me why I would feel like crap all day? But pretty 30 minutes after eating it, it was a really good donut. But like 30 minutes after eating it, I kind of felt down from the sugar. My stomach was funny. I felt all right during like lunchtime, and then leading up into dinner, I was like, I don't feel good. This sucks. I don't even want to eat dinner right now.
Yeah, I think, like you said, like, it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to change everything right away. You can still eat out. I mean, I've found a balance between all of this stuff, right? It's taken a while to get there, and I have a good foundation, but it doesn't have to all change at once. If you try to go full 180, you're not going to last, right? And we were talking about prep one meal for the week, right? Maybe just, if you don't have any cooking experience at all, just buy smaller portion and cook one small meal for one dinner. Replace one meal or something like that. Like, it doesn't have to be this huge overhaul. And I don't recommend it being a huge overhaul. What is the easiest, smallest first step that I can take to get me in the right direction?
Yeah, I love that. Well, I appreciate you. I hope that the people that are out there watching appreciate it as well, because you are a wealth of knowledge, especially around the meal prepping stuff and the nutrition side of things, Zach. So any parting things you want to say before I click end this video?
No, I mean, I think if you have any questions, if anybody has any questions on meal prep or anything, like, definitely reach out to me. If there's anything that you feel like I missed or could go into depth on, like, I could talk about this for hours, like, no problem. I would love to break down. I write out a whole step. I was thinking about making like a meal prep guide at one point, because it's just like, again, it's my process that in that guide would include like the 3 recipes, all the like grocery lists and all that stuff. Like, that's been in my head of like, hey, I'm doing this anyway, and they're not my recipes. I'll give the credit to whoever it is, but like, how can I take the thinking and what's the framework that I can give you from my experience to cut down the 10 years that I've been doing this, right? Not have you do that, yeah. Do it in 1 month, right? So it's been something that's in my head. But if you need any help, any questions, want me to dive into more of anything, make more content on it, I'd be more than happy to do that.
Yeah, and if this stuff's interesting to you, come over to the Facebook group Healthy Wealthy Family. Through real estate, we're both real estate investors, so it is a big part of our lives. Outside of the Healthy Wealthy Family side of things, we're dropping recipes, other little tips and tricks along the way every week. Come in and be active. And like Zach said, he's been doing this for over 10 years now. I've been in and out over my time of, the exercise and the nutrition type of things. It's always been there. It's always been a part. So lean on us. Don't spend 10 years figuring it out. Get somebody, that has the experience that you can accelerate yourself to where you're trying to go. That's what we do in our business and outside of our business. So appreciate y'all.